So today we're going to be talking about cybersecurity and how you can protect yourself. My name is Jo Angelini, and I'm Public Affairs Officer for Clatsop County. And with me is Jason Shackles, and he is our Network Support Manager for Information Systems.
Thank you for having me.
Jason, I'm curious, what is one of the most common questions you get when people talk about cybersecurity to you?
The biggest question that people ask me when we talk about cybersecurity is just the generalized, like, how do I keep myself safe online? How do I keep my, bank account secure? How do I keep my email secure? It's all kind of the same question. It's just how do I keep myself from being hacked?
And what is your response?
And usually my answer, the number one answer that I like to give people is to use what's called a password manager. And what a password manager does is you set up an account with your password manager of choice. There are many options available, and I'll talk about that in a second. But essentially, you set up an account with a password manager, and that password manager will generate passwords for you. It will automatically fill in your passwords when you're like browsing websites or when you're on your phone. The idea is that you can create accounts then with your bank or other entity that you want to, Facebook account or whatever, and that password manager can remember your password for you so that you can have a very long, very secure password in case that website gets hacked. The number one issue with websites being hacked is that the hackers will steal your password, and if you've used that password on other websites, like it's the same password as your Netflix account or something similar, then they can just log in as you now that they have your password. So um, use a password manager to not have to reuse your same password on multiple websites is the number one tip that I would give people.
So how would I know how would I know what is a good password manager? Because I'd be concerned that what if I choose one and it's not legitimate? It's a scam.
Yeah, that is a legitimate concern. There are password managers that you can host yourself, although that's a very technical side of things. But there are some companies that have kind of come to the forefront as being kind of like the industry de facto standards for password managers. And the one that the county employs is called Bitwarden, and that's at bitwarden.com. They actually have a free service. If you're just a person and not a business, you can go and sign up for their service, and that's uh, very secure and legitimate. There are other alternatives as well. The one that I use personally is called Proton Pass. It's part of my email subscription, so it's a company that I've worked with before and know that they're legitimate. So I would recommend, if somebody just doesn't know um, even what a password manager is or how it could be beneficial to them, I would recommend Bitwarden as kind of the de facto industry standard.
So, well, what if someone gets my password to my password manager? Then what happens?
That's a question that I get asked pretty often too. Um, so obviously you want to use a uh, pretty secure password for your password manager, and you want to use a password that you haven't used on other websites in case those websites get hacked or have been hacked in the past. But the biggest thing that I would recommend for people to do is to set up what's called two-factor authentication on their password manager. And if your password manager does not support two-factor authentication, that's also a good way to tell if it's not a legitimate password manager. So two-factor authentication just means that whenever you sign in to your password manager from a new device, it will generate a code that it sends to like your cell phone, for example, and then you type that code into the password manager and it allows you through. And so what that does is it proves that not only do you know what the password is to that account, but you also have the device that was registered for that account. So that's a lot more difficult for hackers to obtain both pieces of that information. So it's generally just good security posture for most things, but especially for a password manager, I would definitely recommend setting up two-factor authentication.
So what if I don't have a cell phone? Is there a way to do two-factor authentication without one?
A lot of companies will offer many different two-factor authentication options. One that's not quite as secure is they can send you an email with a code to put in. So if whenever you log into that device for the first time, they'll send an email to you with that 6-digit code to type into their website. Uh, that's considered to be not as secure. It's still better than nothing. But if your email account is the thing that's been compromised and they have your password and access to your email, then they could get in that way. It's still more difficult, but not as difficult as something like physically, having a cell phone. They also have options. Well, a lot of them are for text messaging, which you might be able to receive on a non-smartphone. Um, but yeah, email is an alternative. I think there are some services, and Bitwarden might be one where they can even call you on, like a voice line, like a like a landline or something, and give you that code over the phone, which again isn't as quite as secure, but it is still better than not having one at all.
So Jason, so in this world, if you have a password manager, then all you need is one password to get into your password manager, correct?
Right. So the way that these systems are kind of designed is really with user convenience in mind, which is great. Uh, it it can generate passwords, long passwords for you. And typically, whenever you're on a website where you're signing up for something, that password manager will kind of step in and say, like, do you want us to make a password for you for this website? So a lot of times, I have several hundred online passwords in my password vault, and I couldn't tell you, like, even if you were uh, had me under duress or something, I couldn't give you my password for my Netflix account, for example, because I just don't know what it is. The password manager manages all of that. So it is pretty nice. And most of them will have buttons to just regenerate a password. So if you ever think your account might be compromised, or if your bank sends you a thing that's like, we recommend resetting your password. Typically, in most password managers, there's just a button to click, and they'll actually do everything on the back end. They'll kind of like sign in as you, change your password, store your new password in your password manager. So yeah, they're incredibly convenient if they're used effectively.
So, but I will need to have a password or a passcode when I'm setting up my password manager, correct?
Right. And again, just choose what we would call a strong password, something that's not easily guessed. Don't use birth dates or, names of your children, or even like your mother's maiden name. Things like that are pretty easily found online these days. So pick something that's unique. One tip I like to give people is to think of a strong password, or even a password that maybe they've used somewhere else, and just type it in twice. Um, to the computers, that'll look like a totally different password. So, it's kind of a good mental trick for people to just, oh, my password is usually, password one. So now my password is password one, password one. So that makes it longer. It makes it more difficult for hackers to get into it. So use something like that as what they call the primary password in your password manager, and that'll go a long way to helping keep that secure.
Okay, but we don't want them using password one because
Yeah, that was just an example. Don't actually use password one. Even password one is it's not a great password. But pick, something. It can be a song lyric or a quote from a book or a poem, something that's close to you, or, you know, my cat's name is Alex. I got him in 2002. Something like that that would be uh, the best passwords are the ones that are easy for people to remember, but are difficult for computers to crack.
great. Is there anything else you'd like people to know about cybersecurity and keeping their information safe?
Um, just get and use a password manager, set up two-factor authentication on it, set up two-factor authentication really on any service that will allow you to do that. And yeah, just stay safe out there.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
Take care.